The sun hung high over Murtala Mohammed International Airport, scattering heat waves across the tarmac. A brass band blared high-life tunes, while women in lace wrappers and men in agbadas danced, their eyes fixed on the arrival gate. The handmade banners read, "Welcome home, our billionaire brother," and "Obodo Oyibo King returns." Ngozi stood in the middle of the chaos, fanning herself with a magazine, her eyes darting from her gold wristwatch to the airport doors. Her makeup gleamed in the sunlight, but impatience sat heavy on her face. Beside her, Emeka backed orders at the drummers to play louder, while Tobechukwu adjusted his sunglasses and pretended to take phone calls, making sure everyone saw his imported iPhone. They were expecting glory, a convoy of Range Rovers, maybe even a private escort. They had borrowed money to stage this grand welcome, called local journalists, and invited the village elders to witness the return of their golden brother, Jide Okonkwo, the man who had turned their family name into a legend abroad. But none of them truly knew who Jide was anymore, or what he was about to do. When the plane doors finally opened, a silence swept across the crowd. The drummers slowed. Even the saxophonist stopped mid-note. A team of stern-faced police officers descended first, their presence commanding attention. Then came a man, frail, unshaven, his shirt torn, slippers cracked, a small black nylon bag clutched in his hand. At first, no one recognized him, but then Ngozi squinted, her fan falling from her hand. "Wait, that's Jide?" she stammered. Murmurs spread through the crowd like wildfire. "Ha! Is that not the man they said owns estates in London? Why is he looking like someone they deported from Libya?" The police officers led him forward. His eyes, wary, distant, scanned the sea of faces. Some turned away, some laughed. The drummers quietly packed their instruments. The crowd, once proud, now shifted in discomfort. Emeka stepped forward, confused and embarrassed. "Jide, what happened to you? Where are your bags? Your security?" Jide said nothing. He only smiled faintly, a smile that could cut through glass. "I'm home, brother." "Home?" hissed Ngozi under her breath. "Looking like this?" He ignored her tone. "I just need somewhere to rest." But that single request, simple, humble, was the beginning of a storm that would tear through their bloodline. By evening, the news had spread like Hamatan fire. Jide Okonkwo deported. The dollar man has gone broke. At a local beer parlor near their estate, men clinked bottles and whispered gossip. "That's how these abroad people behave," one man said. "They live fake life till deportation brings them back to reality." Meanwhile, at home, Emeka and Ngozi sat with their uncle, Chief Opara, the self-appointed head of the family, the same man who had been collecting Jide's land documents for safekeeping. "This situation is shameful," Opara backed. "The whole community thinks we are cursed. We must act fast." Ngozi crossed her legs, her diamond anklet glinting. "Act how? He's broke. He can't stay here. My friend saw him today. He looked like a madman." "Then don't let him near the house," Opara said. "People must not think he's still one of us. His shame will spread." They all nodded, forgetting the years of money he had sent, the cars, the school fees, the rent, the house they lived in, built from his sweat. That night, Jide stood outside the family compound, his nylon bag pressed to his chest. The gate was locked. When he called, Tobechukwu appeared at the balcony, shirtless and irritated. "Brother abeg, it's late. We don't have space inside. Maybe tomorrow." "Tobe," Jide said calmly, "I built this house, every block." "Yeah, but things have changed." He closed the balcony door. Jide stood there for a while, under the yellow streetlight. He heard laughter inside, the clinking of cutlery, the sound of a television. He turned away and began to walk. No tears, just silence, a silence heavier than grief. He slept that night under a half-constructed building near the junction. The city roared around him, but his mind was still. Somewhere far away, a car watched him. Inside sat a man in a suit, one of Jide's loyal aides from abroad, recording everything quietly. Days passed. Jide wandered the streets of Lagos, invisible among the crowd. Those who once sang his name now crossed the road when they saw him. His siblings had each taken something that belonged to him, a land title, a car, or money from projects he never saw. They said he had no proof, and even if he did, who would believe a beggar? Then, one afternoon, fate took a turn. As he staggered down a dusty street, the smell of fried plantain drifted from a roadside stall. A woman's voice cut through the noise. "Uncle, sit down, you look like you haven't eaten." He turned. A woman, mid-30s, in a simple wrapper and headscarf, handed him a plate. Her eyes were warm but firm. "Eat first, talk later." He wanted to refuse, but hunger betrayed him. He ate slowly, quietly. When he finished, she smiled. "My name is Amara. You can rest behind the shop if you have nowhere to go." He looked at her, no judgment, no curiosity, just kindness. He nodded. "Thank you." The morning after Amara found Jide under the bridge, Lagos was already alive with noise. Danfo horns, hawkers shouting, and children running barefoot through puddles. Jide sat quietly at the corner of Amara's small wooden stall, dressed in a clean shirt she had given him. It was old but washed and neatly ironed. For the first time in weeks, he felt human again. Amara moved about the stall, frying yam and plantain, pouring garri for customers. Her laughter mixed with the sound of sizzling oil. She worked fast, talking kindly to everyone, the bus drivers, the beggars, the school children. Jide watched her with quiet curiosity. There was no pretense in her, no greed, no hidden motive, just a woman surviving with dignity. "Uncle Jide," she called to him, "you can help me serve that man over there. He's been waiting." He hesitated. It had been years since anyone asked him to do something ordinary. Back abroad, people obeyed him. Now here, he was serving food on a plastic plate, but he smiled faintly and did it. "Thank you," the customer said, handing him cash. The small word, "thank you," carried a strange weight. It touched something he had lost, the simple joy of usefulness. Days turned into weeks. Jide stayed with Amara and her son Chibuike in their tiny one-room apartment. He slept on a mat by the wall, often waking before dawn to sweep or fetch water. In the evenings, he helped Amara balance her sales, teaching her how to calculate profits and losses properly. She would laugh and call him Oyibo man because of his neat handwriting and strange grammar. But she never asked questions, never asked why a man with such composure and knowledge was living like a pauper. One evening, while they sat outside under the dim glow of a kerosene lamp, Amara spoke softly. "Uncle Jide, you don't talk much about your family. Did something happen?" Jide looked into the distance. The night air carried the smell of smoke and rain. "They think I'm useless now," he said, "but I only wanted to know if love could survive without money." Amara studied his face, her brows furrowed. "That's a hard lesson to learn, Uncle Jide." He smiled faintly. "Hard, but necessary." She nodded. "You will be fine. You have a good heart. Life tests good people harder, but it never forgets them." Her words lingered in the air long after she went to bed. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Jide's siblings were celebrating. They had sold his last piece of land and split the money. Emeka had bought a new car, Ngozi had opened a boutique, and Tobechukwu was busy posting pictures online about his business success. Chief Opara sat with them, drinking whiskey. "You see," he said, "that fool didn't even know how to handle his wealth. He gave it to us willingly." Ngozi laughed. "I can't believe he sent all that money for a house we never built. The man was blind with trust." Emeka shrugged. "Let him rot. He's no longer useful." But far away, something was already unfolding that would make them eat those words. One Sunday, Amara and Jide attended a small church near the market. During the testimony session, Jide listened as people thanked God for things money couldn't buy: healing, peace, love, contentment. He sat quietly, head bowed. When the pastor asked if anyone had something to say, he rose slowly. I have no family, he began. I lost everything I thought mattered, but a stranger fed me when those I loved turned away. I came to thank God for reminding me what real wealth looks like. The congregation went silent. Even the pastor blinked back tears. Amara looked at him, humbled by the grace in his voice. From that day, people in the community began to respect Jide. He fixed their broken chairs, advised their children, and became a quiet symbol of humility. But behind his calm eyes, he was planning. Late one night, while Amara and her son slept, Jide stepped outside and pulled out a small phone from his nylon bag, the only thing he had brought from abroad. He dialed a number. "It's me," he said quietly. A male voice replied, "Sir, we've gathered all the evidence you asked for. Bank transfers, land records, everything. Your siblings have been moving funds into private accounts." Jide's eyes hardened. "Good. Let them continue. The act must finish before the curtain falls." He ended the call, pocketed the phone, and looked up at the moon. "Almost time," he whispered. A few days later, Amara noticed men in suits visiting Jide at the store. She grew worried. "Uncle Jide, who are those people?" He smiled. "Just some old friends." "Old friends in tinted jeeps?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. He chuckled. "I promise you, Amara, you'll understand soon." That evening, he bought new clothes for Chibuike, repaired Amara's roof, and paid her rent for the next year. She tried to refuse, but he held her hand gently. "Please," he said, "accept this. You gave me a home when I had none." Amara's eyes softened. "You don't owe me anything, Jide." He looked at her for a long moment. "Maybe not, but I owe the world a lesson." That night, his siblings received invitations to a mysterious business meeting from an anonymous foreign investor looking to partner with their late brother's supposed company. The deal promised millions. They dressed in their best, perfumes and pride in equal measure. They didn't know the man they had abandoned was about to walk in, not as a beggar, but as their reckoning. Morning sunlight sliced through the blinds of the Continental Hotel in Lagos, turning the marble floors to gold. The grand hall was filled with murmurs, polished shoes, and the perfume of false importance. Chief Opara sat near the front, his agbada wide like an inflated balloon, his expression a blend of arrogance and anticipation. Beside him were Emeka, Ngozi, and Tobekuku, all dressed to impress. They had come to meet the mysterious foreign investor who had promised to buy out Jide's former business holdings and offer a multi-million naira partnership. Emeka adjusted his tie. "I told you people, this is our chance to bounce back. Once this deal is done, we'll finally bury that embarrassment called Jide." Ngozi smirked. "Imagine, after everything, we still win." Chief Opara chuckled. "My children, life always favors the wise." Then the door opened. Two men in dark suits entered first, followed by another. Tall, calm, his steps measured. For a moment, the siblings didn't recognize him. Then Emeka's smile froze. Ngozi's fan slipped from her hand. Tobekuku's jaw dropped. Jide Okonkwo stood before them, dressed in an Italian suit, trimmed beard, eyes sharp as steel. For a long moment, silence ruled the room. Then Jide's voice cut through, low and even. "Good morning, everyone." Chief Opara blinked. Jide?" Jide smiled faintly. "Yes, uncle. The same Jide you threw out of his own house. The same Jide you called cursed." Emeka stuttered. You said you were broke. We saw you at the airport. You looked like a man testing truth," Jide interrupted. "And I found it." He turned to the investors seated behind him, his real team. "Gentlemen,
These are the people who taught me the difference between family and parasites. The journalist in the room whispered. Cameras clicked. A video played on the screen behind him. Scenes of his arrival at the airport, his siblings mocking him, his sister calling the police, the gate being shut in his face. Every betrayal was recorded. Every word they spoke echoed through the hall. Ngozi covered her face. No, please, Jide, stop this. But he didn't. You know what hurts the most? He said softly. It wasn't that you took my money. It was that you killed love in its purest form. I sent home gold and you returned me dust. Chief Okbara rose angrily. You can't talk to us like this. We are family. Today's expression hardened. Family. When you forged my land documents and sold them, when you lied to the community that I was deported for crimes, when you threw me on the streets like a dog. He gestured to a lawyer beside him. Barrister, please. The lawyer stepped forward, opening a folder. Mr. Okonkwo retained all legal titles to his properties. We have proof that Chief Okbara and his associates committed fraud, perjury, and theft. As of this morning, court orders have been filed. All assets acquired through his funds are frozen. Gasps filled the room. Chief Okbara staggered back, clutching his chest. Jide continued coldly. Everything I built, you will return, brick by brick. You thought you could bury me, but you were planting the seed of your own ruin. Ngozi fell to her knees. Brother, forgive us. We were desperate. He looked at her, his eyes unreadable. Desperation doesn't excuse wickedness. Tobekuku tried to grab his hand. Please, we can make things right. Jide stepped back. You already did. You showed me who you are. He turned and walked away, leaving them surrounded by police and journalists. As he exited the hotel, flashbulbs followed him, but his gaze was calm, distant. His convoy of black SUVs waited outside. He got in silently. Inside the car sat Amara, dressed simply, her eyes wide with disbelief. You really are rich? She whispered. Jide nodded slowly. Rich, yes, but I was poorer than ever before you found me. Amara frowned. I don't understand. He looked out the window. I had money, but no love. I had houses, but no home. You gave me something my billions couldn't buy. Humanity. Amara's eyes glistened. So, what happens now? He smiled softly. Now, we build something real.
Weeks later, Jide founded the Amara Foundation for Widows and Children, a charity that built homes, schools, and small businesses for the forgotten poor. The same community that once saw him as a beggar now knew him as a savior. In one emotional ceremony, he stood before a crowd of women and children holding Amara's hand. Love is not a transaction, he said. It's a test. And most times we fail because we expect rewards instead of giving truth. Let this foundation remind us that kindness is the only wealth that never fades. The audience clapped. Some cried. Amara wiped a tear and smiled at him, not as a lover, but as a friend who had helped him find his soul again. Months passed. His siblings lived in quiet regret. Emeka lost everything. Ngozi's boutique closed. Tobechukwu fled to avoid prison. Chief Okbara's name became a cautionary tale. And Jide? He moved into a modest home by the edge of town, away from the noise of luxury. Every morning, he visited Amara's shop, now expanded into a thriving restaurant. They would share breakfast and laugh like old friends. One evening, as the sun bled orange across the horizon, Amara asked, "Would you ever forgive them?" Jide took a long breath. Forgiveness is freedom, Amara. I won't hold their chains anymore. She smiled. Then you are finally rich again. He nodded. Yes, this time in the right currency.
True wealth isn't what you keep. It's what remains when everything else is taken away. Love, kindness, and the peace of a clean heart.